Hey y'all.
Hello, hello.
It's Lauren.
It's Jamie. Welcome to the Chicks and Dip podcast.
We are so happy you guys are here. We're recording on another gloomy afternoon. What is the deal?
I know. Well, I think it's a time in Savannah where like it's hurricane season and it's just going to start downpouring. Lauren and I were, which actually segues into my story. We both went and got our nails done today. We got a little chrome action. I have a horrific story. Okay. And just a little, what is it? A PSA or a...
This is a warning.
Yeah, for you. So I was planning on getting my eyebrows threaded because I had legit squirrel tails on my face. And they wanted to do it themselves. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll just get my eyebrows waxed here. I'll only go to one place then.
At the nail salon.
Yeah. Whatever she put, I didn't even tell you this, Erica. Whatever she put on my eyes, like usually it's like an aloe afterward, a lotion. I don't know what it did, but it burned my skin off. Yep. So I'm sitting there and she put it on and I was like, well, I mean, like usually it stings. It's a little whatever. Nope. I get in the car after my nail appointment and looking in the mirror, my skin is off. I have a whole line above my eyebrow and this one's like not as bad. But I got back to the office and I was like, so my skin is burned off of my face. Oh my God. Our boss is like, you need to go to a dermatologist. Like, you need to. I'm like having a heart attack. So if you see a little sparkle, it's because I have burn cream on my face.
Listen, you're glowing, Jamie. You look good. You look good. Honestly, I'm like chuckling a little bit. It's not funny. It's really not. But if this was going to happen to anyone, it would Jamie. Be me. 100%.
I just, this is just a warning to all you out there. Maybe ask what they're going to put on your eyebrows first, because I know I have sensitive skin, but that shit was not aloe. I don't know what that was. That could have been hydrogen peroxide that they put on my face. I don't know what it was, but we're keeping up with it. And I swear if it scars my face, I'm going to be mad.
No, it won't. It won't. It will not. We do not receive this. It will not. Kind of funny thing. I was Googling it or like to try to help Jamie earlier.
She was.
And if you Google like eyebrow wax burn, the first thing that comes up, there's some law firm out there that's like capitalizing on this. It's like, can you sue for burns on your face from eyebrow wax? Yes, you can. It's like one of the Google ads.
No way. I mean, like, listen, I don't want to be that person, but like, if I've got some second eyebrow shadow going on up here for the rest of my life, we may need to reevaluate here.
Jamie deserves compensation.
Oh my God. Like, what the heck? So anyways, I just want to put a warning out to everybody that is real. And it happened to me today. So happy Wednesday as of right now. Hump day. We're doing well. And then on top of that, I forgot my wallet in the car and it was monsooning outside. So I had to run through the parking lot, not once, but twice to get payment. So yep, here we are.
Pay for your injury.
Yep. So it's a day.
Well,
anyways.
I hate that for you. We don't really have, I mean, that's a pretty crazy story, but we don't have like a whole slew of crazy stories. Instead, we actually have a question that one of our listeners wrote in. So we're so excited about this. We have got a few of these like listener questions in the bank. But if y'all have any, please like go ahead and send them to us, because we kind of want to keep, make this a regular thing, or maybe do a whole questions episode or something.
Yeah, we definitely, I mean, it gives us ideas for other episodes about what y'all want to hear and everything, but we definitely should do an Instagram story soon where you can write in your questions. Because you guys were writing about the fullbacks and everything. Yes! Which was hysterical.
Y'all are the funniest listeners. I love y'all.
I love it.
Okay, so here's the question, and we're gonna weigh in. How do you go about asking out a girl who is an employee at a place you're at? For example, the receptionist at the doctor's office, your barista, your yoga instructor, etc. What's the most appropriate way to approach this? I love this question.
I know, I do too.
Do you have like first thoughts or?
Yes. So I think when it comes to this, first of all, dating someone in your workplace is very tricky. Because if things go bad, we have a friend that was just experimenting with a guy that she works with, and now they're not talking anymore.
Wait, I don't think this is in the workplace. I think this is like at a place that you go to.
Oh, okay.
Like you're the customer.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it more as in like a workplace thing.
Oh.
That can get a little tricky. But when it comes to that, I think it's definitely something that you have to build over time. I definitely wouldn't like go all out at first. Like I wouldn't after like 2 interactions kind of like, hey, you want to go on a date or something? But maybe like hang out a few minutes after class or something, chit chat a little bit, especially if they're your yoga instructor. Be the last person to roll up your mat and be like, hey, give some compliments about the class, ask some questions about themselves or how you can get better at whatever you're doing.
Yes.
Right?
I like that advice. I think a thing to remember is that it is their place of work. It's not yours. So maybe you think it's like everything's a go, but that's their place of work. And so I feel like a good rule would be to think if someone walked into my workplace and asked me out like just randomly, you'd probably be a little bit weirded out. So you need to like establish that like, yes, I'm a customer, but like I'm the cool customer. Then I'm the friend customer. You know,
Right.
like you gotta build up to it.
Yeah, because that just made me think because like right now I work at a studio and like if a guy was doing that to me and asked me for my number or something there, I'd feel really uncomfortable, or I would just feel uncomfortable if people were like coming in or leaving and they're trying to talk to me. Like you need to catch them at the right moment when they're not going to be interrupted by someone else coming in, like they have their work done and everything. But I thought about something cool if you guys are hitting it off and you can tell that there's a little mutual interest. Maybe write your phone number on a piece of paper. And when you're walking out, give it to them, because then it's very subtle. Nobody else is really seeing what's happening, and you're not doing the awkward, like, hey, can I get your number sometime? And then you got to sit there, exchange the phone, everything. Like maybe give it to them, and then it's up to them at the end if they want to text you or not.
I like that because there's no verbal, like there's not a situation that you've put them in at work. Like where they have to like think on the fly, like, oh my God, like someone's hitting on me, you know, whether they like it or not, that could be a little bit tricky. I love the paper thing. If that were me, I would not think that was weird. And like worst case scenario, she doesn't text you. And then, you know, next time, nothing but professionalism when you're ordering your coffee. Like.
Right, exactly. Because then you also save yourself from, if they're not interested, like the very scary moment of them telling you no in front of other people. But yeah, I think that could be something kind of cute. And then you can converse over text of like, hey, I'd really like to take you out on a date. Let's go somewhere after. But yeah, definitely feel it out first. Like really give it a few interactions and do it when they're not going to get interrupted. Because if I was in the middle of something and someone kept trying to get my attention or something, I'd be like, please walk away and do this at a different time, because then it's just going to look bad on you, like you don't know timing skills.
Agreed. And I feel like I can actually like directly speak on this because Cameron was my Orange Theory instructor. That's how I met him. And so that was I've heard kind of his perspective and some of the other coaches' perspective on being, you know, approached by clients, members, whatever you want to call them. And I know at least at his studio and from his perspective, he has been very careful because, I mean, that's a slippery thing. Like he could get fired if, you know, you maybe hit on him and he sends you a text that you take the wrong way. Like you have to remember, again, it is their place of work. So they're watching out for it from a professional perspective. So that's something very interesting that I had not thought about until I started to date Cameron. He was like, because he didn't, I mean, well, I'm not going to get into like our whole meeting story, but he didn't like slide into my DMs or like be like, oh, hey, Lauren, like, hold up after class. I want to like get to know you. Like it was not like that. He's very professional at work. He's friendly and fun, of course, but you know, it's a professional relationship.
Yeah.
And what kind of worked out for us is our studio would hold outside of the gym events. So like there would be a happy hour or something, or there would be, I don't know, like an after hours event. And if there's an opportunity there and you really want to get to know one of the employees, that's a good thing to do because you know the whole staff is going to be there and it is more of a relaxed environment where they're expecting to chit chat with the customers, the clients, the members, whoever. And so I feel like if, I don't know, the doctor's office one is kind of tricky. I can't imagine a lot of, you know, pediatricians, or you're not a child, pediatricians, a lot of family doctors are holding happy hours for like their patients. But like the yoga instructor, maybe the yoga studio has a happy hour after work or after the gym closes or some kind of event. If there's an opportunity for you to go to something like extracurricular with that company, go to it because that's probably when you're going to have the most social freedom, I guess.
And I also am not against sliding into someone's DMs.
I'm not either.
If that's the only way that like you can really do it, like if there really is no moment for you to have with them in that one-on-one second, if you're already following each other, you know that that's kind of there. Be like, hey, like I never really get a chance to catch you at work and don't want to interrupt what you're doing or something, kind of like phrase it in that way.
Yeah.
Like I really like would love to take you out for a drink.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the thing. I am pro sliding in the DMs if you know they're single. You know that like there's this is a whole nother topic. If they're not single, don't even go there. You're going to make it weird for everyone and like ruin it. But you know, if you know that they're single and you find their Instagram, reply to their story. That's so easy. And then, I mean, chances are if they are interested in you, then they will actually respond. They won't just like your message, I think.
Yeah. Don't be like bringing them gifts at work
and stuff.
Ew. That's just like, that's so weird.
No.
Another thing that I just thought of, if there is someone at your like place that just went through a breakup too, do not think that that is your time to slide in.
No.
Do not do that. No, because like I'll tell you right now, after I had my breakup and the people that did slide in, I was like, you're the last person that I want to talk to.
Yep.
Do not, because I just feel like then, not that you lose respect for them, but like they're being very selfish, I guess, and not thinking about how you're feeling in that moment. Like, no, that's not what I want to be doing. It's like, oh, I've always liked you, blah, blah. Great. I don't care.
Right. Well, and
sounds horrible.
Again, like, I feel like you just have to remember this person is at work. So like you just have to navigate it. Make sure they're not in a relationship. Make sure they're not fresh out of a breakup. And then if all the stars are aligning, still remember they're at work and just proceed with caution and be respectful.
Yeah, proceed with caution, because if that goes weird, then you need to switch gyms.
Yes. Oh God, imagine your favorite coffee shop and you do something weird and hit on them. You can never go get your favorite latte. Oh God.
Oh, sorry. I cannot. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question.
I hope so. And I hope that wasn't too much of a rain cloud. Like, there is hope. Literally, me and Cameron,
cloud.
like, I was a member of his gym. There is hope. But you just have to do it right. Like, I can't hammer it home enough. Try to find a social situation. Or, like, if you happen to be out and about and you see them in public, definitely go say hello.
Something.
Even if it's at the grocery store, it's at a restaurant, go over to their table and just real quick, hey, how are you doing? Like, any opportunity, if you're serious, where you can interact with them outside of their work environment, I think is going to be your best bet.
Yeah. And just to add on of what I said earlier, especially if you're at like a studio or something and you're trying to be the last person there, be the last person there and cap it at like 2 minutes.
Yes.
Like, do not be the last person there that ends up staying for like 30 minutes talking to them. Like, make a few comments, say great class, something like that, whatever. And do that a few times. That's fine. But cap it at 2 minutes, 5 minutes tops. Like, do not hang around and linger. We hate lingerers.
Yes.
Too much.
Oh my gosh. God. I'm going to like do a follow-up on this maybe on an Instagram story, because my sister currently works in a doctor's office. So I'm going to be like, okay, like, do the patients ever, like hit on the nurses, hit on the receptionists?
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, I'm sure. And I just want to know if there's any success rate there. I'm fascinated by the whole doctor's office of it all.
Wow.
The hospital is a scary place, but it's a sexy place.
It is. Wow, that's something.
Anyway.
Wow, guys, that was a lot.
Yeah. We hope that we helped.
Yeah. We have a very exciting episode today that we think you guys are really going to relate to, whether you're women, whether you're a man, anything. It's just all about finding friendships after college. How to make friends, what to do when friendships fizzle out, and all the different things under that umbrella.
We're talking friendship, y'all. So let's get into it.
In 3, 2, 1.
All right, y'all, we are here with our guest this week. This is Aysia Woods. She grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia and is a self-described professional people gatherer. She has built a career getting people together for business and for fun, and she's currently the event manager at 3C Strategies. Aysia has lived in multiple cities and is truly an expert in connecting with people. She's here to discuss meeting new people and nurturing friendships. Welcome to the pod.
Wow, thanks so much. It sounds so professional.
It really does. Well, you sent like your big professional bio, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to narrow?
So just so you know everything, here is my entire bio, resume, everything you need to know.
I loved it. Your website's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Okay, so we're talking friendships. This is something that we hear all the time. Like, it's hard to make friends as an adult because you're like in school and you're around your peers or you're on a team or whatever you're doing, and then you're thrust into the world and you're just by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
weird.
tough. It's a really awkward scenario that people don't talk about often. So I'm excited to talk about it today to see like if it can be helpful. Do people have similar experiences? I'd love to hear you guys' experiences. There's so much here. So much here to discuss.
So many things to unravel.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Unravel.
Like, here we go.
This like friendship braid. We're gonna unravel it. Okay. So I guess I feel like a good place to start is maybe meeting new people, because I feel like primarily our audience is probably all moved to a new city, or at least they're fresh out of school. So I don't know. What do you think? How do you meet people?
There are so many. I've experimented with a lot of different ways of meeting people, and I feel like what's worked best for me is honestly like sliding into the DMs, which everybody should get comfortable with, because like half of my friends I have today was like, I was on Instagram like, oh, she looks cool. They do some cool things. And I just literally was like, hey, you want to get coffee? Like, you seem like you do some cool stuff. Would love to chat. And like, you know, next thing you know, you're sitting and having coffee for like an hour straight or something, which is so nice. Coffee dates are cool, using social media to connect. I'm a fan of, I don't know if you guys remember the website called meetup.com. Have you ever used this before?
No. What is
I'm
that?
like dating myself because this is a very old website. But like when I lived in DC, meetup.com was like this social website where you could like go and sign up for different clubs. It could be like, you want to play kickball or you want to learn another language, like go to happy hours and just like you find different people who have your similar interests and you just like show up there. And I met a lot of friends that way.
That's a thing still?
Yeah, like that's a thing still. And it's in a bunch of cities. Like we could do it here in Savannah. We could do it, I think they have it internationally as well.
Wait, that's so cool. I want to do it.
Me too.
Yeah, and
set up
then
a
just
happy hour.
like putting yourself out there, I feel like is really helpful. But like there's so many different ways.
Yeah. So what ways have you made friends and what has been like your most successful?
Okay, so my most successful has been, so when I used to live in DC, I started hosting these different events for, like when I graduated college, I was like, all my friends moved away. I don't know anybody here anymore. And I was like, okay, I need to like take matters into my own hands and like meet some people in the city. And it's also, we should mention, such like an awkward thing to admit to yourself, like, wow, I really don't have any friends here now, so I should like try like put some effort behind it.
Yeah.
And so I started hosting events on meetup.com because I had attended a few of them and I was like, I don't know if these are quite my people, I haven't found them yet. And I was like, let me just like go on there, just like put something on there that I would like to attend. Yeah. And eventually women just started coming and it was like a lot of fun. It was like these little social events. We were doing girls' night outs, like going to festivals, all kinds of stuff. And so my closest group of friends to this day are women that I met from hosting those events in DC, which has been so nice.
Oh my gosh, we need to do one.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I feel like another thing when you were mentioning like different ways to meet friends, also Bumble BFF. I have been on that.
Same.
Like literally, it's literally, you know how on Bumble it's to find a significant other. It's literally to find friends. Like when I moved to Savannah, I moved with one of my best friends from home. So that was very nice to be able to kind of like ease into a new city and everything. But then once she moved, I was like, okay, I like don't know anyone here now. And we were just becoming friends. Like I just didn't have anyone that was like super close, I feel like. And so I went on Bumble BFF, but that's why the dating apps don't work for me in general, because like I'll be chatting with someone and then I just straight up ghost them because I'm like, I'm good. Like I'm like bored or I just don't feel like meeting up. So the fact that it was like to go meet up with girls for coffee, I'm like, I'm good.
I'm like praying someone is listening and they're like, that's the bitch that ghosted me on Bumble BFF.
Sorry.
No, that's a
Okay,
good
we'll
thing.
try
I've
again.
actually gone, I've had like my closest friend here, one of my closest friends here, I also met through Bumble BFF, and she's actually the only person we met up with, because like the same thing, I was like chatting, and eventually it's like, it's just like pen pals, like what's happening here?
Right. I mean, like, I feel like, especially if you're trying to meet friends on this thing, it's like,
Yeah.
let's chat once or twice, and that chat needs to straight up be like, when are you free? Let's get coffee here. Great. You want to meet at Franklin's? Okay.
Exactly.
Like, that's it. We don't need to get to know each other over this thing. Let's talk in person. I just couldn't get past that talking stage on Bumble.
Yes.
To meet friends. I'm like, this is horrible. I can't.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Well,
I
you
love the
should try
idea.
it though. Like Bumble BFF is really fun. Like once you get past the awkwardness, it's a lot of fun.
I guess I got to try it again.
I love it. I feel like I'd be good at it because I'm great. Like the thing that you said about the DMs.
Yeah.
I've met so many people, and you know, like for me, it's almost like going on a date because you have to go into it with the mindset of like, okay, I could jive with this person, or we could really not like mesh. And sometimes, like that's happened to me before. I did a whole lunch with this girl, and we had like mutual Instagram followers, but I didn't really know anyone that we had in common, like in person. And it was just like fine. She was super sweet, but you know, like it was okay. And I never saw her again. And I'm like, that was cute. You know, it wasn't a bad thing. And I feel like it never hurts to brush up your social skills, you know?
It never does. And like that's a good thing you mentioned is like if you go into like a social situation with zero expectations, like I feel like it's more easy to enjoy, have less anxiety about it. But if you're going in like, ooh, I hope this person is just like my friend Sarah from kindergarten, we bonded, like it's not gonna happen like that. But if you go into things being like, I'm just here to meet an interesting person and we'll just see what happens, like I find that also helps like something successful blossoms from it. That's not too like intimidating.
You know what I think is the scariest part for me is that like when you meet friends through other people, somebody already knows that person. They know the ins and outs of that person, like the little things that they do, whatever. And it's like, hey, you got a warning. This is how they can be sometimes. This is someone that you are like, this is literally dating somebody. Like, you dedicate time to getting to know this person. It's like, I mean, love girls, support women, everything. But like, some girls can be assholes, like completely. So I'm just like, what if you start hanging out with this person and you're like venting to them and everything, and then you find out a few months later they're like telling your business to other people, or they're just like super shady.
Listen, it's a risk you take.
I know.
High risk, high reward, people.
True.
So I have gone on one of these like blind friend dates, and Jamie and I are both actually going to her bachelorette party in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yes, it was here in Savannah, and she saw a bar here had reposted like a picture of me that I tagged them in, and she saw it, went to my profile and saw I have a highlight about my nails, and she was like, hey girl, this is kind of weird, but I just moved here from Ohio. Where do you get your nails done? And so I told her, and then she went and got them done, and she was like, oh my God, like, thank you so much for the rec. By the way, I have no friends here. I hope this isn't weird, but would you want to just like go to happy hour? And I thought really that was kind of the first time, I think that was one of the first times that someone has been so upfront, like, hey, I don't have a lot of friends. I want to hang out. And I thought she was so cool just from the jump. Yeah. And we went, and it was so funny because we're sitting at the bar. We're like talking about how we met and like, you know, where we're from and all this stuff. And this lady was at the bar across from us, and she literally leans over and goes, oh my God, are y'all on a blind friend date right now? And I was like, we are. And it was just like a really sweet night. And then from that, I was able to introduce Jamie to her. I introduced some of our other friends, and it just kind of grew into a little group,
and like that's the most beautiful thing when it happens so like naturally like that. I mean, obviously it wasn't like, you know, she was very intentional at reaching out to you, but then you introduce her to people, and it's just like eventually like the friend group grows. That's so nice.
I love it. I kind of want to dive into also, especially coming out of college and, you know, high school, everybody's got their high school friend group. You go to college, and I feel like it's relatively easy to make friends in college. Everybody's trying to do the same thing, you know, experiencing all these new things for the first time. But coming out of college, what they don't, and this is a whole other episode that we want to do, like life after college, but a really big thing is that a lot of people move to cities by themselves. I mean, it's really intense, and nobody warns you about that. It's like, hey, not only are you not going to have friends, but you're going to have a job that takes up a lot of your time, and then you're not going to want to do things after work. Where in college, you're like, you go to class and then you go out and make friends. Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah, it is. It is really different, and it's like nobody prepares you for anything after college.
True.
And that's definitely one of those things. And like, I feel like when you move to a city, so like I moved to Washington, D.C. from Philadelphia. I didn't know anybody in D.C. I had visited there like a few times for field trips and stuff. Didn't know anything about it. And same, it's like when you're in college, it's so easy to make friends. But then when I graduated and was still living in the city, and yeah, that's when I had to get like super like, okay, like I was also reaching out to friends of friends who I knew still lived in the city, being like, hey, like I'm so-and-so's friend. I still live here. And I've heard a lot about you. Like happy to like meet up or something. Yeah. So that was something fun you could do. But yeah, like that post-grad situation in terms of like socializing is very awkward.
Oh, it's intense.
Yeah. And piggybacking on the post-grad, I want to get your thoughts on being friends with your coworkers, because for me, that was like instant. The young people in the office, I gravitated towards them just like we were back in college, and it was great for a couple months, and then these are just a random group of people. You might not even have anything in common with them, and I kind of started to figure out who I was going to be friends with, and now I'm still unsure where I land on being close with your coworkers. So I kind of want your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, like that's something you just have to be a little bit like discerning about to kind of like maybe tiptoe slowly around it. I do think the workplace is a good place. Mr. Kid, he's just in the corner like, hey, he wants to make friends.
The past 3 episodes, I look down and he's like this, and I'm like, here we go. You want to jump up?
He wants to make a friend.
Go ahead and do it, buddy.
You know, we know you're going to do it at some point, sir. No?
He's just waiting on it.
Anyway, sorry, keep going.
No, yeah, it's like a place where you kind of have to feel things out, because you're right. Like if you're deep diving into like, I'm going to make all my coworkers my friends, that could get into some tricky situations.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you kind of like take baby steps towards things, like maybe if there's somebody in the office, you're like, okay, we seem to have similar interests. You can go on like a lunch meeting with them, or just like go out to lunch or something, see how that happens. Maybe eventually if like that goes well, then you go to like an after work happy hour. So I feel like if you just like do these little steps, and that's helpful. But yeah, I feel like sometimes there can be gray area because you don't want to be like naive or maybe sharing too much when you're like kind of whatevering, and then like, you know, that gets out to the office. So I feel like it's just a space you have to be like personally discerning about. But I do think it does create like an opportunity to meet people.
I agree.
sure.
I think proceed with caution is great because, like, for me at least, if I get like super drunk, I don't want like my boss to know about it on the weekend. And so if all my coworkers witness that, I'm gonna be freaking out for a week until I feel no more anxiety. You know what I mean? Like,
and then plus like,
I don't know.
say if you're hanging out with a coworker outside of work and then something like dramatic happens there, then it kind of like rolls over into work, and then that's
Yeah.
also an awkward situation you have to deal with.
yes, we have both experienced that. If there's outside of work
Lord.
drama and it comes in, it's like terrible.
Yeah. I think it's also when you come into work, like everybody knows, like you were saying, your business.
Yeah.
Whether it's like you're drunk or just your personal life in general. I mean, we're all so close right now, and Lauren knows everything about my life anyways.
Yeah.
But like if something happens, everyone knows.
Yeah,
So then you're like, yep, sir.
absolutely not.
We have this water bottle. Yep, there he goes.
I didn't have to spray him that time. He's getting better.
But yeah, so I think it is proceed with caution a little bit, but it's just kind of funny because like we're coworkers. But it's also
I think it depends.
different,
I think
though.
the danger.
You discerned well. It worked out.
Yes, and you have to kind of feel it out. Like to me, the big corporate like environment, I feel like it's just best just keep it separate. You know,
Yep,
like
yep.
that's weird.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and even if talking about mutual friends and different things like that we were discussing earlier, I think it's also okay to not jive with people too. Because I've had friends introduce me to another group of girls or whatever that I'm just kind of like, you know, I just can't picture myself being like, I'm going to hang out with them and tell them everything that's going on. And that's okay. And I feel like people can get stuck in that kind of like hole when they move somewhere. It's like, okay, these are really the only friends that I have. I need to make this work. Or why isn't this working? And it's like, because those aren't your people. And that's okay. You're going to find them at some point. Just means you got to start over in some ways.
That's good to bring up because it's true. Like, what do you do when you find yourself in a situation you're like, okay, like I'm surrounded by this social circle that I don't really like, maybe don't share the same values. You guys don't have fun the same ways. And that's a good point if you kind of like have to reassess and be like, how am I going to change the situation? And it is okay to like not jive with the people. And then you just kind of have to reevaluate and kind of just choose another path a little bit.
and I think that can be really scary. Like especially. I've been in multiple situations where I've really jived with one person and then all of their friends I don't just love. And it's like, I really want to keep hanging out with you, but I don't want this to be like my core friend group necessarily. And that's kind of scary to kind of start over in a new place. You know, you're like, dang, I thought that was it.
Yeah. It is tough, especially because like that's a situation where you have to like figure out what your own boundaries are with the friendships, you know, of like, okay, maybe I'm fine, like maybe you're fine just hanging out with the one friend you jive well with, but then like maybe you just don't hang out with the other people one-on-one situations or whatever. So like, yeah, boundaries are a whole other conversation in friendships. But
I feel like we talk about boundaries all the time. I mean, that was our first episode. It's also very hard to be the odd man out when a friend group is already established and you're kind of being introduced into that. I mean, there's no way during that first hangout to know that you clearly are not a part of the inside jokes, and then they kind of got to stop and be like, oh, this is what so-and-so meant, or this is what happened. That's always going to be awkward. I feel like that's another awkward stage to kind of get past if you feel like those people are people that you jive with and that you vibe with and want to keep hanging out with. But yeah, that's a very hard
I'm telling you what,
situation.
we talk about this all the time. I'm the pro at being the glue. Like I have always been the glue because I hang out with random groups of people. You know, like I've been like that in high school. I was a cheerleader and I also did theater. Yes, like I would just be pinging from all these different groups that would never talk to each other. So every year on my birthday, I'm like, I should get them all in one room. And then I get them there
all
and there's
together.
50 inside jokes and I'm like exhausting myself. Like, okay, when they said this is the backstory. You know, like it's a lot. So totally different question. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
you know, this is something I think about so often. Okay, I come to the conclusion I think I'm a more extroverted introvert. Does that make
Yes,
sense?
I feel that on a spiritual level. Yep.
It's like I definitely love socializing and getting out there. I love socializing when it's more one-on-one and intimate, or like this, like a smaller group setting. But I definitely am like, oh, okay, let me go back home and get back in my safe space and like recharge. And then the next day I'm like ready to go.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I love, and you know, I love my time at home. Like, she has to pull me out of my house sometimes.
Yeah, like
'cause
what
I'm
would you guys say you are? Like introvert, extrovert, like where do you fall on the scale?
I feel like on like a sliding scale, I'm definitely more on the extrovert side. But like for me, all I need is like a Sunday afternoon. Like I need to be not even by myself. I just want to be home on a Sunday afternoon to like get things organized, and then I'm set for the week. But like I really do love to be out and about. Like, I don't know, if I'm gonna do work, I'm not really gonna do it at my house. I'm gonna go to a coffee shop where I can chit chat with neighbors, and like on a plane I'd be talking to everybody. Like,
Love that.
That is so funny. I would say I'm kind of in the middle because I really like being at home by myself. Like last Saturday, I didn't go out and do anything. I was so content sitting at home by myself, watching a movie. But then I feel like I'll get an itch and be like, okay, I really like want to get dressed up and go socialize and everything. And then I'm like the most extroverted human being in the world, like a little like social. I used to make fun of my mom when I was little for talking to every stranger possible. Like there was no stranger danger in that household growing up. Again, that's me now being an adult. I will talk to anyone, especially with a few drinks in me. I'm like, hey, let me tell you my life story. What's yours? What's your name? God, I guess that's one way to make friends. Just take a few shots and call it a day.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, definitely
that's
in
a
the
slippery
middle.
slope. And that's something I did a lot whenever I moved to Savannah. I would go out and like, I'm going out with people I don't really know. So I would get really, really drunk. And I think it was like a little bit of an anxiety thing because I didn't have my core group of friends with me.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah, that sucked.
It did, you know? But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's relatable, you know? And that's kind of how freshman year I made a lot of friends. Everybody was getting hammered freshman year because we didn't know anyone.
Yep.
And then you kind of calm down.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's so cute.
I asked about the introvert extrovert thing because I'm curious your take on making friends, if you're one or the other.
Yeah. I mean, I can only speak from my own experience. So for someone who's kind of also like you, like in the middle a little bit, I feel like it's about figuring out what ways you feel most comfortable. Exactly. So like a situation where like maybe you feel like you have to like have a few shots or something all the time. Maybe that's not like the best all the time.
You're right.
But sometimes it'll like get you to where you need to go.
Yeah.
But for me, I found that like since I know I like jive better in a group where it's like a small setting or one-on-one, I think just because I feel like more comfortable, like I don't know, just low pressure. That's why I kind of drive towards like coffee dates or like maybe you can go to the movies, go to dinner, do whatever. Yeah. So that works for me. Now, if you're like more extroverted person, maybe you will feel more comfortable just like going to social events and just kind of like working the room and seeing who you can meet that way. If you're more introverted, maybe it's, I don't know. I would be very curious to actually hear an introvert's perspective, how they kind of make friends. Maybe for them, it's like the sliding in the DMs to like kind of feel out a situation, or using a friendship app because like you're talking to getting to know each other before you're like meeting in person. Yeah.
It's also, my take on it is it's a growing thing also because it just made me think about when I first started working with you. Like, I knew people in Savannah from the news, but I didn't know as many people as Lauren did.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if I've ever really like talked to you about this, but I would get so anxious every time we went to something because like we'd walk in and everybody knew who Lauren was. And I was like, oh my God, like nobody knows who I am. You know, so then people give you the awkward stares and you're like, who is this bitch? But so that's a totally different situation too, because I can go out to a bar and be totally fine surrounded by strangers. But if we're in an event for a group in Savannah or something, I feel fine because I walk in and I know people. But walking into something like that is makes me very anxious. I feel like.
I've had a very similar experience because I moved to Savannah 2 years ago, and about, oh my gosh, twins! And about like, I know it's happening live, y'all. Yes. And about like a year after I moved here, I met my now boyfriend Kiwan, and like he knows everybody, but he's a very introverted person, but knows everybody somehow. And it was very awkward. Same thing, I'm going to place, people like, who is this? I'm like, I don't know anybody here. I just showed up. I don't know anything either. Yeah. And yeah, it's like once I like found a way to start to meet those people that he knew and make my own friends, because I feel like that's important too. Not only in relationship, but friendships too, where like you can kind of, that person knows everybody, but you go out of your way to like make your own friends based on like your own, like you found them, whatever. Kind of like adds more confidence to the situation. You know?
I think the best way to approach a situation like that is right when someone gives you that awkward eye contact of like, who is that? Like I was saying before, automatically, hey, my name's Jamie or something like that. And then it kind of shows confidence on your end too. I think that's something good to do. That's what I found at least.
I think that's the best tip. And that is something that I feel like in college, like I had never well, before college, I had never shaken a hand ever. And then all of a sudden, did that happen to y'all? You went to college and you're like, is everyone shaking hands now? Like,
Oh my God, no.
Wow.
My stepdad made me do that from like, I literally had lessons growing up. It was like, when you meet someone, you shake their hand and automatically be like, oh, so-and-so, this is so-and-so, and blah, blah, blah. Like, introduce everyone around you. I'd get yelled at when I was little if I didn't do that.
What?
Did that happen to you?
Yeah, it was the same exact thing for me. Like, my dad was like, you guys are gonna look everybody in the eye, shake their hands. So we were little kids, like, everywhere.
Oh my
It
God.
must be a northern thing then.
I mean,
Maybe.
I was more hammered on the yes ma'am, no ma'am thing. Like we
Okay,
were
yeah,
definitely
that wasn't
taught
a
the
thing
eye
for me.
contact, but there was no handshaking really.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
like, is your name Lauren? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was getting hounded
I'd
about.
be like, yeah, what about it?
Oh, if I said yeah, my life would be over. Oh my God.
That is wild. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I remember I had this friend, this is like not related to the episode, but I had this friend and she came over in middle school and it was like the first time she came over and I was so excited and she left the house and I'm like, Dad, what did you think about Maddie? And he goes, I don't like her. And I'm like, what happened? Why? And he said, she called me Mark. It's Mr. Mark. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, oh no, I didn't even catch it. No joke.
Wait, I have a follow-up question to that. Did you guys call your friends' parents by their first names?
I think it was either first name or last name, but there was always a Mr. or Miss before it.
Wow. What
Like-
did you do?
So same. It was like Miss Sharon or like or like Mrs. Johnson.
Yeah.
But, like it was never a first name basis. Oh my
No.
God. That was,
Oh, yeah.
But that wouldn't even feel normal for me to do. I'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, that
Right?
feels weird. I can't call
Ew.
you by your first name.
Yeah, no, we never said first names at all. It was always
Yeah.
like Mr. Burton, Mrs. Burton, no first names. Not even like Miss
your friend
Miss
was
Lori or whatever the frick. Unless they're a dance teacher, then it's like, oh, Miss Abby or whatever the heck. But oh my God, that's wild. Yeah, that was my dance teacher growing up. That was like the first thing that came to mind. Hey, Miss Abby.
So whenever I feel like we've given a lot of good tips on making friends and getting out there. So once you get the acquaintances, how do you get them to be real friends? What do you think?
This is like my favorite stage, to be honest, because I feel like it's such a fresh time to get to know someone. So you can like see what their interests are and like you have to just like dig deep and be bold about it. Because the same way you were saying how somebody DM'd you and you loved like the confidence and just the openness, people really respect when you're just like, hey, like I would love to get to know you better. Like let's do this weekend or come with me to this event or something like that. So I feel like you just really have to just go for it. Just invite them to something. Because the worst that can happen, honestly, is what? They're going to be like, maybe. But I mean, if someone says that, I don't think they'll say that to you anyway.
Maybe not.
No.
But like the worst that can happen is you guys hang out and it's like not, you guys aren't driving. And if that happens, no worries. You just kind of like, you should still be proud of yourself for like making the effort and trying it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so weird how much making friends is like dating.
It is. It's exactly like that.
It literally
Exactly.
made me think of our first episode when we talked about like setting boundaries and how to tell someone no. So when you're talking about like, oh, I just don't think we're going to get along. It's like the same thing about rejecting a guy. Like,
I don't think that I'm
Sorry.
attracted to you. Like, I don't think that we're going to be friends.
geez, I think that would go downhill. We were like, oh, no guy's going to like freak out on you. I could see a girl being like, why?
No.
Why are you rejecting me as a friend?
Yeah. I feel like the other helpful thing to think about when like you're finally hanging out with that acquaintance in another situation than you normally do is to come prepared with certain like, not like a script of what you're gonna say, but just certain questions that you feel like are good conversation points or something. Because I feel like half of the discomfort or like anxiousness about meeting someone new is you're like, what if we're just sitting there and we like don't have anything to say, and then it gets weird. But like if you kind of are home and like, okay, I want to know about this person's this, that's really helpful. Because then like if there's a dead zone or something and nobody's been talking for a minute, you can bring that up and like you just have like kind of these tools in your belt of what you can bring out during your hangout. So that's nice too.
I think that's really smart. And I feel like no matter if they're talkative or not, like everyone likes to talk about themselves. So if you have some questions about them, and who's not going to have an answer, you know? Right?
Exactly.
Get them talking.
Exactly. Good point. People love to talk about themselves. And like as a listener, you should be like genuinely curious to like want to hear about them, you know? So yeah.
That's how you get to know somebody at the end of the
Exactly.
day. Another direction that I want to take this in that it just made me think of a conversation that I had with my sister is friendships fizzling out, because that happens from high school. It happens from college. And my sister actually sent me this Instagram post and it says things we don't tell 22-year-olds but should. And like, I want to read these on another episode and kind of like dive into it, because that's all what this podcast is about. But there is one, there was this one point, and it says, the super tight friend group you had growing up or in college are mostly not going to be your closest friends at 30, and that's okay. It means you've all grown up. And I was like, wow, that I just got chills. Like, that literally like just relates to this so much, because I mean, we're like best friends again, not that we weren't, but we definitely went through a time where we grew up together, and she was literally my sister, like at my house all of the time. And we both went to college together, but we just kind of grew apart. We had different friend groups, and it was really sad. It was something that like I cried about all the time, because I'd find like Snapchat memories or something and be like, oh my God, like this feels like a different person to me now. It doesn't even feel like that was a life that I lived at one point. And sometimes, whether it fizzles out completely forever, or maybe you do find your way back to each other, it happens in relationships, it happens in friendships, and her and I are like best friends again, and we talk all the time. So that's really great. But sometimes that doesn't happen with people. And I think that's something that we need to normalize and be okay with, because you grow up.
That is such a heartbreaking situation. Like when you said that, me and Lauren were like, because like we all get it, like, and we've all been there. So I mean, like, not to age myself, but I'm 29. Shh, this is the last year I can be in your podcast.
The last time you can relate.
Yeah, but like you're right. Like the people I grew up with, like in college and afterwards, like we were so tight. And now it's like once we're getting to like late 20s and like some of my friends are turning 30, it's like completely different. And it's tough, but also like you have to just like accept that it happens. Yeah. And friends are for a season, some are for a lifetime. You're right. Sometimes you can circle back and pick up where you left off. And like it's tough. It is really tough. I don't know. I could go in so many different directions about this topic, but I don't know. How's that been for you guys? Do you feel like you've had a lot of friends where you kind of like been really close and all of a sudden like things are changing? How does it feel?
Yes. Yeah. I feel like I have kind of 2 points here. One is that whenever I've been in a situation where I haven't found my footing in other aspects of my life, I've found myself like really like clinging on to friends that I think in my gut I knew were not gonna be there once I got my shit together, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, I mean, some whenever I first moved to Savannah, but some whenever I just wasn't sure like what I wanted to do with my life or with my free time even, you know, and I just found myself hanging out with kind of whoever was around. And then once I, you know, got into a job or found a hobby or started exercising and I had less free time, I kind of was better at thinking about like, okay, is this a quality friendship versus someone who I just keep around because I don't have anything else to do. And that probably sounds kind of shallow, but I think that whenever we're bored, whoever's around, you know, like we don't really think about, is this serving me or not? We just hang out with them. And then the other experience that has been real to me is obviously the boyfriend situation. Once the friend gets a boyfriend or once you get a boyfriend, there's like that honeymoon stage and everyone feels it. You quit hanging out with your girlfriends. And sometimes I feel like in a healthy friendship, they give you a little bit of space, let you do your thing.
Yeah.
And I've experienced in unhealthy friendships when there's a lot of jealousy, a lot of bitchiness once you start going on dates on Friday night instead of wine night on Friday night or whatever. And that can be so tough to get through.
For sure.
It is tough. And I listened to a podcast. It was really interesting the other day. I wish I could remember what it was called, but I'll have to send it to you guys if I remember it.
Yeah.
But it was essentially talking about how like we underestimate like how different friendships serve us in our life. And so, for example, you know how you were saying, you know, sometimes you don't know if it's the best thing, but you're kind of hanging around who's nearby. We basically underestimate how much of our closest friendships, so like think about it, the person you had is like a childhood in your childhood town, or in college you're together for 4 years, how much of that friendship was just based on proximity. And then if you kind of like have more distance, whether you're spending different time, like your time apart, or someone moves or whatnot, or gets married, whatever, how that really typically always changes relationships. And so you kind of have to find a way to take the personalness out of it and be like, look, most friendships truly are like based on proximity. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. And once you can kind of dissociate from that, you're able to kind of like look at it more rationally and not take it so personally, and also hopefully not hold so much, you know, grudges or resentment towards another person, which was helpful for me because having moved from like growing up in Philly, going to DC, now Savannah, my friend group has been so disjointed and whatever. So it has been like something I've been intentional about reflecting about over the last, you know, few months, definitely.
Something that we talk about all the time is how valuable your time is, especially becoming an adult. I mean, I think last week we were talking about like it was in a totally different sense about like lingerie and hooking up with your boyfriend. But like when you get home from work, you're tired. You want to go to sleep. It's a completely different feeling. And for me, what I've learned with friends and even my family, sometimes the phone works both ways. And you can't beat yourself up if you're the only person that's reaching out and they're not. And it's like, you got to let them go then. Because if they really wanted you to be a part of like their life, they would make that happen. And I think that's something that you kind of notice when you get older because you don't live near each other. So it is more of an effort now. But we also have social media that makes it feel like you know everything that's going on in someone's life. So you're like, oh, shoot, I just went 6 months and didn't talk to you.
Yeah. It's also really helpful to like do almost like a self audit and see what type of friend like you are and like you consistently show up as, because same situation. I was always the friend who I felt like kind of was the one like doing the reaching out and being like, hey, what's up? Like scheduling a phone chat or like, you know, doing a FaceTime randomly. Then eventually you start to realize like, I'm not getting the same energy back. And then it's like, I, you know, have to reevaluate and just say like, what do I actually need from a friend right now? Am I looking for someone who can support me in this way or just like someone to chat with? And then also, it helps you once you kind of like reflect on this, because you can also be vocal about like what you're looking for from your friends at the time. Like, you know, I know we haven't chatted in a while, but hey, would love to just like call you on a drive home or something like that. So I also feel like we don't really take as much time to be like vocal about exactly what it is we need from our friends and vice versa, and asking them like, hey, like I know you're super busy right now, you've got married, you got 3 kids, like how can I be supportive to you right now? So yeah, it is hard.
Yeah, to me it's more the effort at the end of the day. Everybody has busy lives, and if I haven't talked to my friend in kind of like 6 months, you also have those friendships where if you go a while without talking, you know it's not deliberate, it's genuinely just because you're so busy.
Oh, yeah.
And then you pick up and it's totally fine. But I think if your friendship's kind of hanging on by a thread and there's really no effort there at all, then as sad as it is, you got to let it go.
Yeah. And for me, I do, like I said, I don't spend a lot of time at home. And so it feels like I don't have a lot of downtime to pick up the phone because I'm always out socializing, doing something. And I have been so guilty of my friends, like my long distance friends being like, hey, let's have a FaceTime date. Like, hey, let's call sometime. And the times that I have responded immediately and been like, what are you doing tomorrow at 6? Like, that's when it works. And so I feel like that's a good tip. Like, if you always are making almost empty promises with your friends, like, oh yeah, we'll catch up soon. Let's call soon. Let's FaceTime soon. Just freaking buckle down and make yourself set a time. And it is the best feeling. Like, after you talk to your friend for 3 hours, you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad that we caught up and did that. It never doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. Setting a time and a date, I have to do that too.
Yeah.
It just makes things, 'cause then like everybody really sets aside that time and it's going to happen. And then especially if you miss it, you're like, wow, I hate myself.
Exactly. You feel so bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's growing up is hard, and you would never think that friendships would be something that you had to think about, but friendships, like you were saying earlier, you have certain friends for certain reasons. I mean, in high school, you're probably friends with some people because they're popular and you want to be in that friend group, or because you're on the cheerleading team with them or on a basketball team. Then you get to college and you're in a sorority or something like that. But then you kind of realize that quality over quantity at the end of the day once you graduate.
Yeah.
Ooh, can I ask you guys a friend question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever been in a situation where you feel like you have a friend but you're not sure if you guys jive anymore? Like, what do you do in that situation?
Let me think. Oh, wow. I have I don't know if this is quite, this might be a little bit an extreme version, but I have had a situation where I was extremely close with 2 people, and then just some time went by and I hadn't seen them, and I found myself reaching out like, hey, do you want to hang out? And one of them had started dating this guy, and I just felt like it was becoming distant. And then finally we got a drink date set, and I was so excited. I thought we were just going to pick up, and we got there, and it was normal, but some of the things that were said, I don't know what had happened in that time period. It was only a couple months, but some of the values that they were expressing, I was like, I don't want to be friends with this person anymore. And it was really weird because it had only been a couple months and I'm still not exactly sure how it happened. But all of a sudden I had this moment where I was like, I know this is the last time that I'm going to hang out with these people. And it didn't feel sad necessarily. It was just kind of like an indifferent feeling and just a weird feeling. And I just kind of left and I said, it was so great to see you. And it was almost like all parties knew that we are not the same friends anymore. And it was just
Yeah,
what
that's
it
interesting
was.
how you said
Yeah.
like you knew that was the last time when you hung out with them.
I
That's
remember
wild.
I came home and I told my boyfriend, I was like, I don't think I'm going to hang out with him ever again. And I haven't. It's been a year and a half. I have not seen him. I still see him on social media, but we don't text, no nothing. And there's no hard feelings there. We just weren't on the same page anymore. And it was real quick and fizzled real quick. I don't know.
Yeah, because sometimes nothing like dramatic has to happen. It just like fizzles out. Just like you say, and there's like nothing wrong with that at all.
A flaw about myself that I've actually noticed and have become very aware of is, you know how people say like someone's a serial dater and dates like a bunch of people? I'm like a serial best friend haver. Like it happened a lot in high school, and you know, even sometimes when I grow up, like I will meet someone and we like hit it off so much, we hang out all the time, like every day of the week. We're just like, and this is literally just like a best girlfriend, you know, like we go out together, we hang out, and like we do all these things, and then after like a month or two, it just kind of fizzles out. We're not really like, nobody's really making the effort as much to be there and to hang out as much, and then you kind of feel like a burden because it's like, okay, why are we not doing this? Like, are you mad at me? Why aren't we hanging out? So I've really noticed that about myself. Like I've done that in the past, and that's something that I'm trying to kind of get better about. And I don't know if it's that you spend so much time with them, and makes me think of COVID. Like you spend so much time with someone and it escalates that relationship or that friendship so quickly that you're like getting to a 5-year friendship within 2 months.
Yeah.
It sounds like love bombing, but on a friend level. Like it does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
very
setting it up
interesting.
for failure. But that's something that I've really noticed that I do or did, and I'm trying not to do anymore. But
Did that ever like get you in hot water where these girls like in elementary school was like, Jamie's my best friend? No, she's my best friend. And you're like, I don't know.
no, I don't think so. I mean, like, I was kind of similar to you, like in high school and just growing up in general. Like, I was a part of freaking everything in high school. So I had like my musical theater friends, I had my chorus friends, I had my like manager for the baseball team friends, and like lacrosse, whatever, all these different things. So it was weird trying to get them to co-mingle sometimes because it really did not work. So that's when it would be like, oh God, I'm going to hang out with these people. And then people would kind of like get upset. That makes me sound like I'm a hot commodity, which is like just simply not the case. But
Just own it.
but I can definitely see, not as much in my situation, but I can see how that would be a thing for sure.
That's so interesting. We could talk about this forever.
I know. My friend style, I've noticed I'm exactly like my mom in this way. I have a lot of acquaintances in that circle that is actually very close with me is teeny. Like I really, I don't know. I'm very personable and I love to like get deep with people, but like, you know, there's like that deep, and that is, I mean, I could probably count on one hand the amount of people. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like I kind of like what you said about like auditing yourself and feeling, you know, what do I need? Do I need 30 close best friends? Like I really don't.
No.
And I'm very content with like a little group and then layers. It's like a onion, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I want to talk about how Lauren and I met because it's kind of funny whenever people, I feel like we're this little like dynamic duo now. But whenever people talk to us, they're like, oh, like, how'd you guys meet? How long have you been friends? And we haven't even been friends for 2 years yet. Like Lauren and I just hit it off from day one. We were both coming out of the news, which we've mentioned before. And I think that definitely sparked our bonding. Like,
Okay. I love this because, you know, there's all these memes like nothing will bring you closer to someone than talking about something you both hate.
and that was us.
We were like talking about all the horrible parts of our jobs, and we just like a 30-minute coffee date turned into 2.5 hours of us talking shit. It was so fun.
And we knew of each other too, but we just could never meet up. So like I literally slid into Lauren's DMs and was like, hey, can we get coffee? Like, I just want to talk to you about your experience in the news. I don't think this is what I want to do anymore. So yeah, we just like bonded over that. And then we ended up, working at the same place, and it was just kind of like right off the bat, like this is so cheesy, but yeah, Lauren will be in my wedding for sure. But like, I know, savvy, but like, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like you never know who you're gonna meet. Like, we were saying this the other day walking down the street. I'm like, I never would have imagined, that all this stuff happened in our lives, and like how close we've become and what we've built together and what we're still going to build and continue to build.
That's so beautiful. I love that.
You. Oh my God, Jamie. Oh, it is really cool.
Friendship story.
Okay, I want to put up my notes here because I feel like I had one more big topic I wanted to bring up.
We've covered so much ground. I love this.
I know.
I also have another juicy question I want to ask you guys. We'll get to it after your question.
No, go for it. We have actually gone through all of
I
that.
would love to know you guys' thoughts about, this is talking about like something that's very trendy right now, but the whole like hashtag girl gang, like, you know how on Instagram, like it's very popular now to like, every influencer has like a gaggle of girls that they travel the world with. And it's like almost like, do you feel like sometimes, what do you guys feel about that?
Listen.
Overall.
Yeah, I was like,
do we need that?
No.
Okay.
I personally think it's fake.
I do too. Like if you ever posted a group picture of us and hashtagged girl gang, I would be like, Jamie, please delete.
Please don't ever do that.
No, and you would never. You're so right. I think again, it kind of goes back to being realistic about how many people are truly going to be your best friend. I just don't see a world where that many people have 15 true best friends. Like maybe we take a girls trip with like a bunch of acquaintances and we like say we're a girl gang, but like I don't think that goes beyond a surface level. I'm just guessing, but
yeah.
To me, if you have to go out of your way to be like hashtag girl gang, hashtag girl boss, hashtag stop. Like you're literally doing it for the gram at that point, and you're not having like. We literally barely have any pictures together because every time we're together, we're just enjoying our company. We don't need to prove to other people that we're like bomb ass bitches doing these like fun things. You know what I mean? Like that's where to me, it's not authentic.
Yeah.
It's just doing it to prove a point. And 100% support women. I love women loving women.
Women, yes,
like,
always.
yes. But when you're doing it because you want to be doing it and not just to prove a point.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean?
I bring it up because I feel like there's so much pressure these days, especially probably younger people who are like maybe more tuned in to social media, of feeling this pressure to have to like, you know, you go on social media, you see that everybody else is doing things that seem like they're having a great time with their friends, but it's like sometimes a reality check to be like, look, like not everything you see there is real, like, and not to feel pressured or like you don't have enough friends simply because you're going on social media and just like seeing everybody else seemingly have a good time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this kind of touches on it, but it just makes me think of like a big group. You know this about me. Something that I'm trying to work on is being a little bit more forgiving. But like, if I find out like you're my friend and you're talking shit about me behind my back, not to my face, like I'm that person. I'm done with you. Goodbye. Cut out.
When you're done, you're just like, you're out. And they're like, where's Lauren?
You know what? Sometimes I feel
go?
like I'm pretty confrontational. I feel like I'll tell you. And that's the thing. Like, I'm not acting like I never like talk about people. Of course I talk about people. But like, I don't know. If I'm talking about you, I'll probably talk about you to Cameron and then come say it to her face also. You know, like I'm never going to not let you know. And so something about the big group friendships is what I'm getting at, is there's always a little bit, some people are going to be closer than others. Like that's just life.
Right.
Some people are going to talk about you. That's just how it happens. And for me, I found that it's very difficult for me to be friends with a big group of people for that reason.
Yeah.
And I want to get better at that. That's something that I hope with age I'll mature and be able to be like, you know what? Everyone talks crap about you every now and then. I need to forgive them. You know, I want to get better at that because I think that maybe, I don't know, maybe I would go on more girls' trips if I could get over that. I don't know. Oh my God, I'm dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not fantastic to talk shit about your friends for sure. But I mean, we have our vent sessions sometimes, and it's like you're not trying to talk shit about someone. You're just like frustrated about something.
Right.
Yeah.
My other comment that I wanted to make that made me think of like TikTok and different things. Another trend I've been seeing is someone posting a TikTok, you know, once we have our thousands of followers and whatnot, posting like, hey, the one I saw the other day was like, hey, I'm in Charlotte. I want to get a group of people in Charlotte together. Let's all meet at 6:30 at blah, blah, blah. And then like whoever's on TikTok and sees that, because you can put your location, they show up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'd love to do that in Savannah. And just see who shows up.
Let's do it.
Right?
She's the pro.
Yeah.
Literally, we have a professional
Okay,
people
just wait
gatherer.
for it, guys. We're going to do it. We're going to do a little meetup. I know, because I think it would be so fun. I'm always like, oh my God, there's no young people in Savannah, even though I'm out with them every weekend. But okay.
There's so many.
It's like, we just need to find them. And we say all the time, we're like, oh, we want to find like other girlfriends and like different things. So we should do that.
For it. We'd be so down for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We got to create it.
So I have a question for you. Do you have one best friend or do you think you have a few best friends?
I I definitely have a few best friends, and I kind of have them like little separated in my head. Like I have my childhood best friends, and there's two of them, and we like went to elementary school, middle school, all that. And then I had like my more college, more adulthood best friends. So they're kind of in different little groups, and those adult best friends, there's 3 of them. So yeah, I've always kind of been similar. Like I have a larger group of acquaintances or kind of like professional connections, whatever. And then in terms of like who knows me very, very well, it's like a handful of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
about you guys?
think about like who like has seen you cry, or you know what I mean?
All
like
my
those
friends
are
have seen me cry.
Jamie was like, I can't believe, like, I cry a lot, but I'm a private crier. Like, my acquaintances, they will never see a tear. They're like, Jamie, I guess you haven't seen me cry, but she's heard me cry. That's the difference. I've been crying, I call her. So that's the difference. She
I've
real
heard
one.
her cry. She's like, oh my God, I cried. I'm like, what? I've never seen this. And I'm crying all the time. Literally, almost cried today.
That rule can't work for you. Jamie will cry in public like it is her job. She don't care.
Oh, I can't help it.
Look, go for it.
Oh God, if I'm sad about something, I'm just like, if I'm drunk, bets are off. Like, we are sobbing in the middle of the bar. I promise you.
Crying in the club over here.
I'm gonna find a TikTok about myself someday, and it's gonna be like, someone come get their girl. It made me crying in the middle of the dance floor.
Using your cocktail napkin to wipe your tears. Oh God.
Oh my
funny.
God. Well, I love this conversation.
I do too.
Me too. We could talk for hours.
Oh
about
yeah,
this.
we only have 2 minutes left. As Erica told us,
We have
she's
2
like,
minutes?
oh, okay.
Shoot.
I know.
Anything like rapid fire that you want us to know about friendship?
Be bold. Go for it. Everybody wants to make friends, so don't be scared to just try. Be self-aware. Make yourself some friendship goals. You know, be like, I'm gonna invite one person a month to coffee.
Wow.
Just try it.
Okay.
That's easy.
That's
Easy.
great.
So easy.
Well,
Wow.
Thanks,
you
guys.
so much.
You're the
So much
best.
fun. Wow, we're friends.
Yeah. Friendships are very complicated as you get older.
really are. It's terrible. Something that I didn't bring up that is like so funny to me. My whole life, like my dad, he is like so self-sufficient. Like he does not need friends. And we're always like, Dad, like you don't want to go have like a guys' night? And he's like, you'll learn one day. The older you get, the less friends you need. And I'm like, but honestly, I think he's right because the older you get, you just prioritize. Like we talked about, like.
Another thing about friends and parents and all that stuff, your parents always know.
Oh
They
my God.
always know. I think back to all of the friends in elementary school and like middle school. I just started laughing at myself because I just thought about how many people are going to listen to me say that and be like, that was psychotic.
She meant to say elementary, you guys.
But the amount of friends that I had that they were like, they're not a good egg.
Yes.
Stop hanging out with them. Everything. You don't believe them. Now you're like, wow, you really saw the warning signs before I did. You saw the red flags.
They were a bad egg.
Damn. And they probably say that about like people you talk to now that you date and you just don't listen.
No.
I'm sure 10 years from now, I'm going to be like, wow.
I know. And then 10 years from now, I'll find something new to not listen to them
Yeah.
about.
Oh, yeah. Always.
Every time.
I mean, always got to be defiant, you know?
Anyways.
Gotta do the thing.
So that's our episode on friendship. I feel like we'll probably circle back to friendship in all different avenues, like throughout this season and the future.
Yeah.
But that's kind of an intro. So shout out to Aysia and thank you guys for joining us. As usual, you can listen to us every single Monday morning. A episode comes out. We are wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Please remember to subscribe and rate our show. And really what we're asking everyone to do right now is to share it with your friends. Put it on your Instagram story, post about it on Facebook, send it to your girlfriends, your boyfriends, whatever. We really want to reach our listeners' friends. So share.
Yeah, we've definitely had a lot of people DMing us on the podcast account and even our personal accounts saying how much you love it, which is so freaking cool. Like I love the people that I haven't talked to in years from high school and some people from college that are like, oh my gosh, I'm listening to this. It really warms our hearts and everything. But please share. You have time to send that message, so just share it too. If you have a favorite episode, share it and kind of tell people how it helped you. And because we're kind of being vulnerable and telling our things. On that note, with social media, we are on TikTok and Instagram at Chicks and Dip Pod POD. Make sure, as always, to tag us in your dip pics. We love to see the queso and the guac and everything. So good. I mean, I'm not kidding, guys. We are eating chips.
We're eating so many chicks.
Chips and dip multiple times a week.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I feel like I was a big dip gal from like my whole life, but lately it's like twice a week we're getting dip. It's like getting out of hand.
Yeah,
But join this journey with us and tag us in your dip pics, you guys.
Yeah, please. And make sure, to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, like I mentioned. You can follow our personal Instagrams. Mine is at Jamie Burton with 2 A's. Don't know why it's like that, but it's fine.
Love it. My personal Instagram is at Lauren_Wolverton. So
Nice.
follow us, y'all, and we'll see y'all next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.